another mother, we have right over here. We have the best looking man in the biz. That is Mr. Chris Wessel. What's going
Howdy.
on, Chris? How you doing?
I actually thought Ron Jeremy was going to be on the show, so I got the wrong notes. But I think
Also known as the Hedgehog for those
well,
folks who.
maybe it was Ron Burgundy. It's a Ron. It's an important Ron. I don't know. It's one of those.
Actually, I met Ron a couple times. Yeah, it
Wait,
was.
which one?
The Hedgehog, Ron, the Hedgehog. Ron.
He lives in Tampa, doesn't he? Isn't he a Tampa guy?
I don't know. It's
I think so.
Well, I'll tell the story in a second, but I do want to introduce over here my other brother from another mother, Neil Lebovitz, the big cheese, as it were, the boss.
Well,
What's going on, Neil?
David,
how
are you?
well, I met Ron Jeremy at in all seriousness, it was at a porn awards show and here in
that is where you
Tampa
would meet him.
at that I got VIP tickets to. And I went just because it was as a goof. That'd be kind of funny to go. And Ron Jeremy was there. So it's the first time I met him, and he looked gross. He was very dirty. He was asleep. I think he was half drunk. I mean, it was. I was not very impressed. Let's put it that way. I was not impressed. But anyway, that's.
I don't think you're supposed to be impressed with his aura.
It's something. I'm sure it's something. Yeah, what an interesting fellow, guys. But that said, neither here nor there. We have.
But I think he is in
Tampa.
Tampa. I was at what's that downtown area in Tampa with all the nightclubs? What's that called? Is it Old Town?
Ybor.
What is it? Oh yeah, Ybor City, right? So
yeah.
I was parking my car there, and sure enough, he walks out of a club with some beautiful woman, and it's good old Ron Jeremy. So I wonder if he's a Tampa native. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm glad I sufficiently derailed this. My work here is done.
Yeah, you started it.
Oh man. Well, all right, guys. We have a great show for you guys today. We're already off the rails, but do you guys do me a favor in the comments? If you can hear us, comment live. If you are watching the replay, please comment replay. We want to see who's watching the show. Obviously, like it, love it, or even hate it, whatever. Just show us your emotion. That is what fuels us, is your emotion.
We just want your attention, positive or negative. We just want your attention.
Exactly. Share the show with everybody that you know. And with that said, let's talk about our sponsors before we dive into the show and bring on Ron. So first off, if you are looking to get some recurring revenue in your business, meaning if you're on the feast and famine roller coaster, you're billing big one month and goose egg in the next, you want to really smooth that revenue roller coaster out, and you want to get into contracting or temporary staffing or staff augmentation or whatever you want to call it, you want to get into it, but you don't want to deal with the insurance headaches and the workers' comp and chasing clients down for money. And oh God, and the payroll, just funding the payroll alone could put you in the poorhouse, right? Because you have to fund the payroll for 30 or 60 days at times. Well, back office staffing solutions can take care of that for you. So there's lots of different companies out there that will handle your back office. There's none out there that is as cost effective and is clean and will brand you the way you want as back office staffing solutions. So this is Neil's company. You can go to backofficenow.com. To check them out. You can also check out this very cool training if you go to backofficenow.com/GMM, or in other words, GM. You can check out what's called the gross margin method. So it's a free training. I believe it's a webinar, if I remember correctly. Go there, sign up for it, and learn how to maximize your profits if you do staffing or contracting.
And by the way, we have a new webinar out that's even better. If you type in backofficenow.com/selling temp, SELLINGTMP, it's about 50-minute webinar on how to get into it, how to do what David's talking about, but really sell it to your existing search clients, etc.
Excellent. All right. Fantastic. So yeah, go there, check it out. The only company I recommend that does back office staffing, and they're fantastic. Now, you may know that I also am in business for myself. I run a company called the Digital Headhunter. We deploy sales and marketing systems for clients, for our clients, and we work with independent recruiters, small search firm owners, etc. So if you want a complete build out, meaning we do all the work, All you do is sit back and wait for us to build the entire system out for this automated system, and we will install it in your practice in 30 days. You can go to realdsp.me/build. The link will also be dropped in the comments wherever you're watching. And also, one other thing as well, really quick. Uh, uh, I'm doing a challenge in 2 weeks, starting March 31st, but not for recruiters. This actually is for candidates, right? It's called the Jump Start My Job Search Challenge. And in that challenge, myself and my partner in this one, Mitch Robbins from the Anthony Michael Group, will be showing candidates how to act like their own headhunter, reach out to hiring managers directly. It's $97. And if you want to monetize your candidate database, meaning you want to email your candidate database just with some basic information about this program, and if they sign up, you get 50% of the ticket price. 50%. If 100 people sign up, that's a cool $5,000 to you. 200 people sign up, that's $10,000. So just by sending a couple of emails. So if you're interested, go to realdsp.me/affiliate. There's a small form to fill out. We'll be in touch once you fill that out, and we'll give you the details. We'll give you an affiliate link as well as the emails that you'll need to send out. So a lot of money for just a little bit of work. Okay. So with that said, that is the extent of our promotions right now. Let's talk to Ron Miller. All right. So Ron, let's bring him on. Ron is a really hell of a guy. He has some very interesting stories to talk about. He's a firm owner. He also does training, and apparently he does not like talent acquisition folks. That's what I've heard.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, David. I would say I have a large distinction in my recent experience that I have a opinionated difference that talent acquisition is different than recruiting, and it's right in the job title.
Well, I always say that talent acquisition and HR, they're like the evil empire, and agency recruiters were like the Rebel Alliance. So who would you rather be, Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker?
But I think Chris brought up a good point. Chris started, I think the Rebel Alliance was really underestimated and not given some of the credit that they really deserve. And I thought that was a really good point.
Or actually, you know what? I shouldn't say Luke Skywalker. I'd say Han Solo. Han Solo's cooler because Luke was kind of a whiny guy. He was kind of whiny, especially early on.
Yeah,
Han, though,
he was a little bitch.
He was. Don't be wrong. Return of the Jedi, badass. But yeah, you're right, and especially in 1 and kind of 2, a bitch. But Han Solo, or Lando. I'd be Lando, actually, technically. Lando was amazing.
But was I the only one at Star Wars? I would so join the Rebel. If Darth Vader was my dad, I would go there to rule the galaxy in a heartbeat. Like a heartbeat. Nepotism.
Man. Yeah, nepotism. It is a thing. Well, Ron, let's dive into it, man. So beyond just the evil empire and talent acquisition, who are you? What do you do? Tell us about yourself.
So I've been in staffing recruiting for 30 years, right? So this last year would have been 30 years for me. You know, I grew up in the industry. It was supposed to be my summer job coming out of college. Decided being a cop was not going to be my future. Didn't know what I was going to do. And a family friend actually had a opening and said, "Hey, do you want to be my receptionist for the summer?" I'm like, what do I got to do? She's like, talk to people and hand out applications. I'm like, how much does it pay? She's like, eh. So I took it, and I found pretty quick that I actually loved it. Like, I loved interacting with the people and answering the questions. It was easy money, and from there, they came to me like 3 months in there, like, do you want to recruit? And I'm like, how much does it pay? So I started on my journey, and like a lot of other people, like this is not a degreed program even today in colleges. It's all wrapped up under HR, but I think recruiting should be a degreed program that's offered out there, at least a 2-year degree program. And you either find that you love it and it becomes what you do and who you are for the rest of your life, or you decide in 12 months that you never want to have anything to do with it again. There's no in between in this business. It's really one or the other. So I grew up in the industry. I've held every role. I've worked for small organizations, early in my career. And then I moved into, the big 5 organizations and moved up to the ranks, wound up running recruiting nationally for 2 companies. And like a lot of other people, you get to that age and revenues aren't there. Recruiting is always the first thing to go. And I found myself out in the market and decided once and for all, I was going to strike out on my own, and I was going to do, a lot of direct hire services, but mostly what I do, and I founded Elevate Talent Solutions for, was to help small and mid-range staffing organizations avoid all the bullshit mistakes that I made and I've seen others make all these years. How do you navigate growth? How do you really train your team the right way? How do you really align your sales and recruiting better to get more out of it, so you're getting ahead of the growth and you're not growing from behind? And that's kind of the basis of what I decided to strike out and do on my own.
Well, so the one thing I'll say about that is you start off as a receptionist. Now, receptionists typically are hired because they're eye candy, Chris. That's how he started. He was
and they picked
at,
29 years ago. I was I didn't have a face for radio back then, so.
But you're right though. I mean, people find their way. They kind of fall ass backwards into the business. I know I fell ass backwards into the business. I didn't know what staffing was until actually my girlfriend at the time answered the ad in the newspaper. Remember those things? And faxed my resume into a company called Labor Ready. That's where I started doing day labor. And then, of course, further worked my way up and found out about what staffing was and my friend first learned about search. And I heard that people pay like upwards of even $10,000 just to hire somebody. At the time, at the time, I was like, wow, they paid that much money just to hire somebody? And I come to find out that's on the low end, right? It's more like, 30, 40, 50, 60K in some cases. So it's really amazing how this business, I guess it's broad now, but at the time when we got in, man, no one knew what we did. It was such a murky business. Very murky.
Yeah.
Well, so with that said, I know you do some training as well, right? So do you actually train recruiters, or you train like entire organizations?
Yeah, so a little bit of both, So I have a training that I put together, and I like to customize it for organizations so it really fits what their goals are, but really training recruiters from the ground up, giving them the basics, how to do segmentation, how to build a bench, on a pipeline, and then really how to communicate with candidates. And then I also have an advanced training where we talk about, how to do Boolean searches, how to use the tools a little bit different way from an AI and automation perspective, and really building that messaging and connecting with people a little bit different way. So on the organizational side, like one of the big projects I'm working on right now for companies, building out an entire learning university for them. Their goal is, hey, even if you come in entry level in our organization and you have the background, the skills, the determination to be CEO one day, we want to be able to grow our talent internally to get there. So it's a little bit of an undertaking because, some of those roles are not self-taught. You got to bring in some outside resources, or, you got to be open to non-degreed people. But, I love doing that piece and helping people kind of achieve their dreams and give them the tools to get there.
Well, let me ask you this. So in relation to that, so giving people the tools necessary to help them achieve what they want to achieve, like what are the big things holding people back though? I guess agency recruiter, and obviously there's client development, client acquisition, that's like the big thing. But beyond all that, like what are some of the biggest sticking points that recruiters have to being successful?
So I think number one, and we've all experienced this, and if I think back through my career, I used to do this with my team all the time, is when we hire a recruiter, you throw them in a room, you leave them there for about 2 days, right? You give them some bread and water, hope they survive, give them all the basic entry level training, and then you throw them on a desk, and you're always in the middle of a firestorm. So you expect them to just understand the job and go start recruiting. You're not giving them the real tools to do it. And they're partnering with people to probably learn bad habits. Not all recruiters have great habits. We all have bad habits. If you're the one that's training and you're not most qualified to train, you're just teaching them what you know, and they're just learning what you're telling them and think it's the right way. So I think number one, training overall is very, very limited and very low impact for recruiters that are coming into any organization. I used to take the mantra later in my career when I actually learned how to be a good leader of I didn't have expectations for recruiters for at least 90 days.
Mhm.
You weren't going to be metric. You weren't going to be measured. It was a learning process. You were going to learn one of the skill sets. You were going to become very adept at it. And you were going to become, a pro at that skill before you took something else on. I wanted to make sure that they had the tools, they understood the systems, they really knew what interviewing was, how to ask those leading questions, and had a chance to develop really how their process was going to go. You can't just give a recruiter a can box and then expect them to go execute at a high level. My personality is different than Chris's and different than yours and different than Neil's. Give them the box to operate in and the tools to really develop it, and they're going to find their own path if they're good at this. Go ahead, Chris. No, but I think Chris is on mute.
Oh, yeah, we can hear you. You're good.
Yep.
Oh, I can't hear Chris.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
No, I got you, David, but I don't have Chris. I'm sorry.
How about me? Hear me?
Yep. I got you, Neil.
Okay. I will repeat what Chris says. Chris, talk to me, man. What I'm curious about, besides what holds recruiters back, are their businesses. Okay, so what he's trying to say is that basically this is his words verbatim. He said, "What my beautiful co-host, that super manly man in the beard, is trying to say is that, to piggyback off what he said, he's asking though what holds people back when it comes to, I think, business owners. He said, right? What holds owners back is growing their practice.
So I think for business owners, it's one, making the investment, right? Everyone wants a return right away on someone walking in the door. And you have to know the right time to bring a recruiting resource on if you really want to expand it out. What do you really want to grow from a discipline standpoint? Are you bringing somebody in to recruit everything because your business is built on filling anything and everything? Do you want somebody targeted that can come in, that can build a certain vertical with you or for you or expand it out? Are you looking to expand your direct hire business, right? And making that investment early and waiting for the return on it. I think that what holds a lot of, smaller staffing companies and even the big box ones, it holds them back because they tend to wait until the need is passed and their team has been stretched, and then they bring somebody in.
Well, I
and then what happens?
You're doing all search, or you do contracting too? Do you do all search, or do you do contracting also?
I would segment recruiters. Either you're a direct hire contract recruiter, or you're somebody that's doing everything. You're doing temp and temp to hire roles. You don't cross the two.
Don't cross the streams, as Ghostbusters would say. But
no.
That said, going back to what holds people back or holds owners back. So one of the things that I've noticed, and I felt it as well back when I owned a firm, is that and also, recruiters are usually the worst recruiters for their own practices, which is ironic in a lot of ways. But that said, when hiring, so I know for me, for example, as a billing manager, when I would hire somebody, I would have to take a lot of time to train them, and they usually wouldn't work out. So not only was what I felt it was a waste of money, but more importantly, a waste of my time, and I lose momentum, right? And then after a few of those hires, it really keeps you from hiring because you almost know that you're going to go through it again, and it's painful. It sucks. You put so much faith into somebody, you almost believe in them more than they believe in themselves. You know what I mean? As an owner, and it's really hard to get past that because it's such a painful experience for most owners, and the first few people, right?
I don't disagree with you, David. My opinion on that, though, would simply be if you're building a bench for the future and you're spending the time early on and ahead of schedule, you're not hiring out of need, right? And that's kind of a very big key for any organization, for any role is, all right, I know that I'm going to expand my recruiting team. What are the key things that really fit into how my business operates and how I want it to go? You're going to find these people in every walk of life. You're not going to get the best candidate by throwing an ad up on Indeed or on LinkedIn. my best people that I've hired across my career never came from an ad posting. It came from coming across them in everyday life or a recommendation, spending the time early to get to know them, decide if it was a fit, and then bringing them in and cultivating them.
Wait a minute, Ron. Are you saying real recruiting?
Oh my God, yes.
What? Wow.
Right? It's mind blowing, right? And we were talking about this before, right? And like one of the big things that I always kind of talk about is my experience with this. This is my best example of how this works. Right before COVID started, I knew that I had a sales opening that I wanted to hire somebody into eventually. And I had a director of on-sites role that was not going to be approved in the next few months, but that is the level of person that I needed on my team. That is what I set out to go find. And I found 2 individuals that I just really loved, that I knew had the right characteristics to get there. I spent months courting them. I can't tell you how many Starbucks that went to kind of cross that whole meeting time and the money I spent there, but it was money well worth it because I got to know what drove them. What did they want to get out of it? What did they know about the company? What did they have in terms of questions? Give them a chance to come in and see the environment, bring them in, training them and partnering in the right way, wound up in under 6 months from the time they started, closing $100 million national deal together.
Ooh, dang, I want to talk about that. Well, all right, let's put a pin in that because I want to come back to the $100 million deal. But I will say this. It almost seems like to me, again, go back to the joke of, recruiters are the worst recruiters of their own firms, which is kind of ironic. But a lot of ways, I think it's because just as you said, it's they're not doing real recruiting. When they to their clients, they talk about we recruit passive candidates and all that kind of jazz, the whole spiel, right? We don't just post jobs, but for their own company, they just post a job because they're looking for that shortcut and that little quick hack. And just like anything else, it takes some elbow grease and some work. As you said, it's an investment for the future. I think if owners just did that alone, they'll save themselves a lot of headache. And I wish I would have learned that lesson really early in my career. But that said, let's talk about this $100 million deal, because that's actually a pretty big. So I heard about this before the show, and I'm curious. So what's that all about?
Yeah. So kind of just parlaying on what I was saying before, I invested the time finding these folks that had no industry experience whatsoever, never came from staffing at all. They just had the grit, the determination, and the personality to do it. I hired one into a regional sales role, and the other came in as a recruiter with the idea that they were going to be the director of on-sites eventually, as long as they delivered. Got them involved, in very specific, and I like to really kind of silo people, right, into what is the discipline they're coming in to really focus on. Like in normal general staffing, forklift operators. I can recruit forklift operators all day. Okay, great. Do you know all 56 pieces of equipment that are on the market? Do you really know what your client's saying to you when they say skid steer operator? Do you know how they utilize it? What do they utilize it for? What attachments are there? I mean, people say we're experts at forklift, staffing forklift. Are you really? Are your people well versed in it? And that's kind of the mantra I took in verticalizing it. I partnered them together, and I was really kind of hoping they not only would gel, but gel within the team. So they were focused on just some really basic entry level packagers. There was a background with one of them with a little bit more in medical, and the other was in cosmetics. So we kind of got them straight into what they were familiar with. Created a target list of where we wanted to sell, and kind of knowing what was starting to happen early on with COVID. I really wanted to make sure that we had protected our business. So we're planning for the future. Hey, being an industry veteran, we've been through these downturns how many times, and we know what survives, especially in the Great Recession, right? Only essential industry was thriving. It's going to be the same way, whether in a recession or a pandemic. Essential products still move. So is your business diversified enough to handle it? And that's what we were trying to focus on early before the shutdown. Wound up getting into something medical that, medical manufacturer that was not something that was really big within our company. Didn't really have anything within our business unit aligned with it. We created a plan in order to kind of target them. And I hired the right people and developed them. She was relentless. She went out there. She got that meeting by going in person and selling herself in terms of, I want to listen and understand what you do to see if we're even a good fit. They hadn't had that approach before. We didn't come in with, we're going to solve all your problems. As we came in with, we want to understand what your problems are. Are we a good fit? Got a first meeting, went in whether, because obviously it was still too early to know all the solutions that we possibly have and what questions to ask. Went in, sat down with them, had a great first meeting, went back to develop a plan. I kind of gave them what an ideal candidate would look like. And they just started skill marketing to say, hey, would these candidates kind of fit into what you're looking for? And they came back again and said, listen, we need to sit down in a bigger picture and talk to you guys because nobody has marketed candidates like this to us. They've been used to just
marketing candidates. Candidate marketing is amazing. Yeah.
Fill and bill at any level, candidate marketing done the right way. It kills me every day on LinkedIn when I see these posts go out there. Hey, we got a great forklift operator. Hey, we have somebody that's a bookkeeper. That's not marketing. That's like, hey, here's some bait. Come and get it, right? You don't know if you're going to have the right match. We just took a different approach. And wound up sitting down with them, and we had a bigger footprint. We matched, nationally. And in less than 60 days, those two turned around a national contract that was worth over $100 million for the company right before COVID.
So if your stake is 2%, why are you still working? You must be
there was no commission for me on that one.
Well, okay. So question on that though. So given the fact that you weren't really a medical device, like how did you sell it? Because I can imagine not really being in the space, that would be maybe a red flag for the company, right?
Yeah.
So how did you overcome that? Because that sounds like a pretty big chasm you have to try to get over to get this deal done.
Well, really where we kind of started was we knew the positions were really more, basic entry level packagers, machine operators, fillers. So we were kind of staying with a background that we knew what we really focused on, as the local organization in that market. We had a good background in that. From there, it was really just reaching out to a lot of connections and contacts to say, hey, we're thinking about getting into this space. You're from that space. Can you work with me and help teach me so I can help the people on my team? What do these terminologies mean? What are we really looking for? Give me some of the key things, because I don't even know if we're a match for what they may want now or in the future. And it's just reaching out through my network of people I develop relationships with, over the years to get more information and guidance, even from outside the organization. I mean, imagine that, talking to people from other staffing companies you've built a relationship with, getting that info and then really kind of parlaying it, and then, hey, Google was our friend. It's like Cole Trickle in Days of Thunder. You'd be surprised at how much you can learn from watching YouTube and ESPN, right? And did the same thing.
And this was a rookie that did this, right? Or at least maybe they should kind of
industry background.
All right, so just goes to show you, sometimes rookies are so stupid that they think they can just walk up to a whale and try to get in, and sometimes they actually do.
Yeah,
how crazy is that? Like there's no block because somebody 10 years in the business, I can't get in there. I'm a small fry. Rookie doesn't know any better. She just tried and she got in. That's an amazing story. It's good to show you some of his rookies, again, because they're not that she was stupid, but because of just their lack of knowledge and lack of industry experience and lack of just like mental blocks. They're just just walk in and make it happen. That's an amazing story.
And I want to hear about any AI you use there, or AI in general. I know you've been really passionate about it, and we don't have a ton of time left, maybe 15 minutes. So I'd love to hear about that. David, not to step on your toes. I just wanted I was so curious.
No worries.
Yeah, see, at that time, we didn't have a lot of AI that we were really utilizing at that organization, pre-COVID. We were in the automation stage yet, a lot of text messaging. We were just getting into email automations and things like that. We did it what everybody else did. Hey, you need people? Let's send out a 5,000 person text blast and then wonder why nobody gets back to you. The AI and the automation came a little bit later in my journey, where I started to develop, apps, to connect with candidates on the phone, that big fad that was out there in the app world. And that really translated more into the AI. And I think my last stop at the organization, the franchise organization I was with, I had one of the coolest tools that I've come across in AI and automation called MapRecruit. Yeah, there's a free plug for you guys if anybody's on from that company. But
what is it?
It was called MapRecruit. And really it plugged into our ATS, and it didn't become the ATS. It did exactly what an AI automation should. It pulls like AI automations do that everyone's using, right?
Mhm.
They're not the decision makers. They only do what you tell them to do. So based on what the keywords were from the job description that it would utilize, you then could customize it, rank them, set up your journey, and you could set up as many stages as you want to, along with pre-screening questions, and right up to scheduling out on the calendar for interviews. It took that mundane work that kills recruiters' time, and it automated it. And I loved how the customization was there, even in the journeys. There were so many applications for it, that people that took to it and really understood it had a great experience with it, and so did their candidates. But people that didn't take to it, or they didn't understand the automation, or they were not good visual learners, because we ran out, like everybody else, visual training instead of hands-on, which is a mistake with recruiters. They didn't grasp it. And it does a lot of what I see happening over and over again on LinkedIn today. You send out all of these applications, you don't hear anything back. You get these form letters 10 minutes or 6 months later that you're not a match, even though you matched verbatim. And it just goes back to one of the core things. Oh, Chris is saying something.
Oh, Chris, I can't hear you either. You're muted. Hey, Neil, can you hear Chris?
No, I can't hear him now either.
Oh man, that's
It's
hey Neil,
nice
sign
to
it.
have you silence once in a while. I was wondering why the show is going so well.
I know, right? No derailments, not once.
But yeah,
Well,
so like I say, like
recruiters with a face like Chris should be seen and not heard, as they say.
Chris, why don't you come out and come back in? Yes.
Oh, we got you. We got you. Okay.
yeah, there we go. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's like riding a horse, right? I mean, of course, the horse does most of the work, but you got to be in the saddle, leading the horse to where you want it to go. Otherwise, it's going to wander off, and to who God knows where. So yeah, so it's like right now you got to be in the saddle, directing it, right? Because it's
Yep.
yeah, and AI in a lot of ways is like a really like an incredibly smart toddler, incredibly smart, incredibly literal. And sometimes it's so literal, it doesn't really, it kind of goes off these weird directions, right? And so, yeah, you need to direct it back to where you want it to go. By the way, guys, I'm getting a comment here from Linda McNeil, says we cannot hear. So if anybody's watching this right now live, let us know if you can hear us or not. I'm checking on my side on. Yeah, I just checked my feed on Facebook. That's working, so hopefully you guys can hear us. I don't know. Anyway. If not, we'll catch the replay. But anyway, you got to be in the saddle. Got to be in the saddle.
Well, right there to Chris's point too, like that's where you got to start with recruiters from day one and training them. Is how do you teach them to write a job description that actually speaks to a candidate? If you need to do a posting should be the last thing any recruiter does instead of the first thing they do, right? That's my talent acquisition versus recruiter. But that job description with the key terms is what activates that AI. And then yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you
It,
this:
it's
as for the AI, so this I guess map recruit. So it both did matching. So I'd imagine it took the job description and the keywords and matched up who it thought would be a good match within your database. And but you also mentioned that it automated the interview setting process and just some of the admin work. How does it do that? Is it kind of like a chat bot type of deal, or just like an automated email to somebody and then they respond? Like, how does that work? Like automatically to set up interviews? What's that like?
I've seen a bunch of different versions over the last few
Mhm.
years, David, of this. A lot of the base models, as I call them, it's custom questions that you enter as a recruiter, right? You develop what that pre-screening looks like, how you want the answers to go. Do you want multiple choice? Do you want a yes, no? What do you want to happen if they
Mhm.
hit the wrong answer, that they don't qualify? Where do you want to kick them back to if they don't? And the ones that go forward, how do you want to present your calendar? So, the majority of what I see out there yet is recruiter developing, right? They're the ones that are inputting it. Now, I have seen a couple of pretty cool tools, and I've heard about, a few things. If you follow guys like Glenn Cathy and those folks there, or anybody that used to go to like RecruitCon, SourceCon, I think it's called ERE now. They have some input on some really cool advanced tools that they do have chatbots that will start making suggestions on questions and engagement. Um, the technology on the other side, I think, is kind of 50-50 because as many folks will say it works and it eases the process, you see just as many that say, I got on with a chat bot. I didn't thought it was going to be a recruiter and it didn't understand anything I was saying to it.
Mhm.
So there's so many different versions and levels of these things that there's not one right or wrong thing. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Of course. Well, the thing is, I remember back in the day when job boards were supposed to put us out of business, and then LinkedIn was supposed to put out of business. It's just a tool. Now, I will say though, that if you don't incorporate AI somehow in your business, you're going to be at a disadvantage. In fact, I just had
Yeah.
a meeting with my a team meeting with my entire company just a couple weeks ago, and I said, we need to start a big project over the next couple of months to really integrate AI into everything that we do as much as possible to make us more efficient, because if we don't, we're going to be held back significantly. And I think and so for me, if I get an increased business, instead of staffing up, I can actually use AI to increase my capacity and keep my labor costs down. Right. So I think for you, for any recruiter out there, even if you're individual and solo, imagine if you used AI to eliminate 10 to 20 hours of unproductive, busy work every week. What would that do for you in terms of being able to be on the phone more and in more meetings with clients? Yeah, there's a quote. I'm going to butcher it. I forget. I forget the person who said it. It was a feminist in the women's suffrage movement said this with regard to like washing machines and dishwashers in terms of getting women out of the house out of domestic duties and into like the outside world. And what she said the more they subordinate the lower things to machines, the more we free up to engage in the higher or something like that, right? So it's the automation that we use. It actually helps us be better at what we do, be more creative, build more relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So don't think of AI as you're not going to build a relationship with your clients. It's actually quite the opposite. You're going to have more time to do that instead of just manually send out LinkedIn messages, manually send out emails, manually scouring through resumes, right? So you think of it like that. So I think anybody who doesn't get on the AI train is going to be hurting in the next couple of years, and it's going to happen quick.
Yeah. On
Very
the
quick.
same note, all the more incentive to not deal with people that are just posting their resumes and do real recruiting. Because at the end of the day, the talent acquisition people aren't going to be cold calling in people when they have all this flurry of AI people coming in from Indeed, which they'll get. But AI can't find someone that's not with the footprint for jobs on the internet. It's that easy.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Gosh, I wish I remembered who said that quote though. It was anyway, I butchered it.
It was either Kieran Carter or Dick Van Patten.
Dick Van Patten.
Van Patten. That's think of a Wayne's World joke.
Oh man. Showing your age, Neil. All right, guys. Well, that's it, Ron. We're gonna start wrapping up here. But is there anything else you want to leave us? Any advice you have for recruiters watching this that are a little bit maybe a little bit of unease going into this year, a little bit of uncertainty? The whole AI thing is going on, right? Like, what advice would you give to them to help them see the most success, to set them up for success throughout the year?
I would say, listen, everybody's going into a lot of unprecedented times right now, right? Mm-hmm. Really kind of take a step back and master your craft. This is the time to really do it. What are you passionate about and what you're recruiting, and how can you really apply that to connect to candidates a different way? You're going to see a flood of candidates. You're already seeing that, right? Mm-hmm. And I think as more cuts happen and you have tens of thousands of more very qualified people just dumping into the market, it's easy to get overwhelmed. Don't get overwhelmed. Have a plan, right? Know that you're not going to get back to everybody, but strive to get us back to as many people as you possibly can to connect with them, right? And just remember that it's a person on the other side of that resume. It's not just a resume. There are implications when you don't treat people right. And we all know this in the business, in the industry. Think about 08 and 09. I could add 50 recruiters and not gotten back to everybody. But because we tried, we utilized the tools and automation we had at that time, we came out of it a little bit different, and not the stigmatism in our market of forget about that recruiting company, because when we needed them most, they didn't even contact us. A lot of folks, when that came back around and everything's cyclical, they will forget about you. So remember, there's people on the other side of that resume, and reach out and connect with them. Get away from those normal tools and think about how you can start reaching them where they're at, not bringing them into where you are.
And I also think about this. It is the VP of IT who is unemployed right now that you take the time to help, maybe even give them some free advice to their resume. Maybe you can't place them now, but you take some time and work with them. When they land somewhere, who do you think they're going to call? The person who paid it forward, right? Now they're paying you back. So karma is a real thing, right? It's not just a woo-woo concept. It is a real physical thing in the world. People do reciprocate, and they remember the people who were with them when they were down. Yeah. 100%. Well, there's a mindset too. Even with your current clients, right? There's a mindset that, well, I got a problem, they have the solution. My problem is I have a mortgage payment. Their solution is they got money, so their solution is going to fix my problem. But in reality, really, they got the problem, you got the solution. And the more you can think that, but it's not just a positioning thing. It's really more of a mental thing in the sense that what you do matters. What you do affects careers. It builds careers. It may save your client's own financial well-being. It may save their career by bringing in the right person that's going to boost them up. And so what you do really matters, right? You're not just slinging resumes. You're not just putting asses in seats. It really matters. And so the more you recognize that and pay it forward, just again, to Ron, your point, and Chris, your point, all that. Yeah, paying it forward like that does pay off in dividend. It really, really does. The more you can do that, the better. So that's fantastic advice. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ron. All right, guys. Well, it's time for us to wrap it up because Neil is about to turn into a pumpkin. Actually, I take it back. We have calls at 1, so we got to prepare for those. So, because we do actually work for a living, isn't that crazy? So that said, Ron, if people want to connect with you, Ron mentioned that we can go to his LinkedIn. Ron-Miller-NJ. Also, you can go to elevate-talent-solutions.com. And Ron has a really awesome YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and it's at Elevate Talent Solutions .com at Elevate Talent Solutions. Excuse me. All right, and with that said, that is about it, everybody. To wrap things up, don't forget if you need any back office staffing help, go to backofficenow.com. If you want to build out a sales marketing system or have it built out for you in 30 days or less, go to realdsp.com/build. And lastly, if you want to join our free recruiter community, go to the syndicate.chat. In fact, we have effective free training tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, how to take a world-class job order that Neil and I will be hosting. So if you want to join in on that one, go join at the syndicate.chat. Ron, thanks a lot for being on, man. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. That said, folks, peace out, and we'll see everybody later. Bye, everybody.